think about any crime scene, often the most powerful stories aren't told by people, right? They're told by the smallest things left behind.
Exactly. Silent pieces of evidence.
Yeah, like a speck of soot or a tiny scratch on a bullet, maybe the pattern of a blood stain.
Hmm.
Today, on the deep dive, we're really going to explore how forensic ballistics and crime scene analysis unlock those narratives.
It's a fascinating world.
It really is. We're diving into how investigators connect specific firearms to crimes, how they interpret all the information from injuries, from physical evidence.
All those little details.
Our mission really is to give you a shortcut, a way to become truly well-informed about how these experts piece it all together, from bullets, wounds, blood patterns.
Hopefully uncovering some surprising facts along the way.
Exactly. Maybe get a few aha moments about what forensic analysis really reveals. I'm genuinely excited to unpack this. It's complex, but the detail is just incredible, how it turns a scene into a story.
And I'm here to help add that layer of depth.
Yeah.
Synthesize the information, help us understand not just what they find, but why it matters so much in solving these mysteries.
Seeing those connections?
Yeah, the ones that aren't obvious at first glance. How these silent witnesses really do speak volumes.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Firearms in a forensic context. What are the main categories investigators think about? And how do these different tools start leaving their unique marks?
Well, firearms are broadly put into three main types. First, you have handguns.
Okay.
That includes pistols, revolvers, basically designed to be held and fired with one hand.
Right.
Then you've got rifles. They have long barrels, usually with that spiral groove pattern inside that's rifling.
For accuracy.
Exactly, for accuracy over longer distances, and they're typically fired from the shoulder.
Got it. And the third?
Finally, shotguns. These usually have a smooth bore barrel. They fire either multiple small pellets, that's called shot, or sometimes a single larger projectile called a slug.
Okay, so handgun, rifle, shotgun.
Yep. And each of these types creates pretty distinct effects and leaves different kinds of traces. That really sets the stage for the forensic analysis that follows.
That makes sense, but it's not just the gun, is it? The wound itself starts telling a story, especially about, how far away the shot was fired. How do investigators read that?
Oh, absolutely. And what's really fascinating here is how the body itself becomes this record. It preserves incredibly detailed information about the moment of impact.
Wow.
So, for instance, with contact shots, where the muzzle is literally pressed right against the skin,
Okay.
you get a very characteristic wound. It's often stellate or star-shaped.
Right.
That happens because the hot gases from the gun expand under the skin, and they actually tear it from the inside out.
Huh. That's specific.
Very specific. Now, if you move just a few inches away, close-range shots, you see something different.
Right.
The wound will likely have soot on it. It's unburned carbon, and you can usually wipe it away.
Okay, so
But you'll also often see stippling. These are tiny, unburned gunpowder particles that actually embed themselves in the skin. They can't be wiped off. It's like a gunpowder tattoo, essentially.
okay. So soot and stippling for close range.
Generally, yes. But then, if the shot comes from a distant range, let's say beyond a few feet, the wound is typically just a clean-cut hole. No significant soot, no stippling. Now, the size might vary depending on the bullet type, the angle it hits.
Sure.
But the absence of that soot and stippling is a huge clue about distance.
It's amazing. Okay, here's where it gets, it really blows my mind. This idea that every single gun leaves a unique fingerprint. How does that work? Like, on a microscopic level, what are they actually looking for?
It really is kind of mind-boggling, isn't it? That tiny imperfections from manufacturing, things you'd never see, create a signature.
Yeah.
So every time a bullet travels down the barrel, the rifling inside those spiral grooves engraves it with unique microscopic scratches. We call them striations.
Striations, okay.
Forensic examiners take a bullet from the crime scene and compare its striations to those on a bullet test fired from a suspect's gun. They use something called a comparison microscope.
Side-by-side view.
Exactly, side by side. They're looking for a precise match of those microscopic lines. It's incredibly detailed work.
And it's not just the bullet, right? I remember reading the spent cartridge case tells a story, too.
Precisely. The cartridge case gets marked up as well during firing.
How so?
Well, several parts of the gun leave their mark. The firing pin leaves a distinct impression on the primer, the little circle at the base. The breech face, that's the part of the gun the case pushes back against when it fires, leaves its own unique scratches or striations, as the case expands.
Oh,
And then as the spent case is pulled out and kicked out of the gun, the ejector and extractor mechanisms also leave their own characteristic marks.
wow. So many little signatures.
Yes, all these microscopic tool marks are unique to that specific firearm. So if you connect this to the bigger picture, the firearm essentially leaves its signature on every single part of the ammunition it fires.
It creates this chain of evidence.
An incredibly strong chain. Very difficult to argue against when you find those matches.
Okay, so once we have maybe a clearer idea of the weapon and the immediate impact, the next step is often piecing together the whole scene. Reconstruction. How do investigators trace where a bullet came from? Its path.
Right. Tracing the path involves two key things: direction and origin.
Okay.
The direction of fire. You can often figure that out by looking at entry and exit wounds on a body or even in an object.
How do they differ?
The entry wound is usually smaller, maybe cleaner edged. The exit wound is often larger, more irregular. Sometimes that's because the bullet starts to tumble or break apart as it passes through.
Makes sense.
Even a ricochet mark where a bullet hits a surface and bounces off, getting flattened or deformed, that tells you something about the path and what it hit.
And finding the origin, where the shooter was.
For origin, investigators might use tools like trajectory rods, basically long, thin rods, or even lasers. They insert them into bullet holes or align them with wound paths to trace the bullet's path back through space.
Ah, I've seen that in shows.
Yeah. By carefully analyzing the angle of that path and where the wound is, they can narrow down the likely area where the shooter was standing or positioned.
That's incredible detective work. But, beyond just the bullet, the injuries themselves must tell a deeper story. About the attack itself, what can injury analysis tell us about the who and how?
Oh, definitely. Injury analysis is really the domain of the forensic pathologist, and it goes way beyond just gunshots.
Like what?
Well, the type of weapon can often be inferred. Take a stab wound. Its shape, its size, its depth can suggest the type of knife or sharp object used. Was it single-edged, double-edged? There's force and intent. This is crucial for classifying the death later on. How deep are the wounds? How many are there?
What does that tell you?
Well, multiple wounds, or defensive wounds, cuts on the hands or arms, they strongly suggest a struggle. That points away from accident or suicide, usually towards homicide. The victim was trying to fight back.
Defensive wounds.
And another critical thing is looking for signs the victim was alive when injured. Bruising, contusions, or lacerations around a wound tell us the heart was still beating, blood was circulating when that injury happened.
Ah, so it distinguishes pre-mortem from post-mortem injuries.
Exactly. It's a grim record, but absolutely vital for understanding the sequence of events.
It's just astounding how much information the body holds. But what about other things at the scene? Like clothing, or even just a tiny drop of blood? You mentioned silent witnesses. How much can they really tell us?
An immense amount. Seriously, take clothing, for example. It's a critical evidence collector.
In what way?
It gathers ammunition traces, things like gunshot residue GSR, which is unburned powder and soot. The pattern of that residue on the clothes helps determine how far the gun was from the victim, just like on the skin.
Okay, distance again.
Yes. And with knife wounds, comparing the cuts in the clothing to the wounds on the body can tell you if the clothes shifted or if the attacker twisted the knife.
Wow.
Even bullet holes in clothes have details. Size and shape can help confirm the type of ammunition. And sometimes you see melted fibers around the edge of a hole.
Melted? What?
From the heat of the muzzle gases. That indicates a contact or a very close-range shot.
Incredible. And blood stains. That seems like a whole other language. It almost feels like magic, how a splash tells a story. What are investigators reading there?
It does seem like magic sometimes, but it's meticulous science. The flow of blood from wounds tells you about the victim's position, maybe their movement after being injured.
How?
Like simple gravity flow patterns. How blood runs down a wall or pools on the floor can show where the victim was and for how long.
Okay.
Then you have cast-off patterns. That's blood flung from a weapon, or maybe a bloody hand as it's moving.
Like swinging a bat.
Exactly. And the number and direction of those cast-off trails can sometimes even help estimate the minimum number of blows struck.
That's powerful.
It is. And then there's the whole field of blood-stain pattern analysis, or BPA. Highly specialized.
What do they look at?
The shape of individual drops is key. A perfectly circular drop means the blood fell straight down, a 90-degree impact.
Right.
But if it hits at an angle, the drop becomes elongated, elliptical. More angled impact, more elongated the stain.
Okay, shape tells angle.
Yes. And the tail of that elongated drop points in the direction the blood was traveling.
Ah, so you can trace it back.
You can trace back the direction, figure out angles, and converge lines to estimate the area of origin where the blood source was when those drops were created. It helps reconstruct the event sequence.
Amazing. What if you can't even see the blood?
Good question. Investigators use chemical tests, like luminol, which reacts with the iron in hemoglobin and glows in the dark. Or specific light sources, alternative light sources that can make blood, semen, or other fluids visible.
And then DNA.
And then DNA analysis on those stains for identification. It really is a whole silent narrative written in blood.
The level of detail is it's fascinating, especially when all these different threads, the ballistics, the wounds, the patterns, come together to tell the biggest story, the manner of death. How do experts usually distinguish between, say, an accident, a suicide, or a homicide?
That classification, natural, accident, suicide, homicide, or undetermined, is really the ultimate goal of putting all the forensic evidence together.
So how do they differ?
Well, accidental deaths are usually characterized by a lack of apparent intent. You might see a single gunshot wound consistent with someone cleaning a gun, maybe.
Okay.
Or signs of a struggle with the weapon itself, but no signs of a fight with another person. The scene might seem disorganized in a way that doesn't suggest foul play. And the wounds might not be in a place someone would typically choose for suicide.
Right, location matters. What about suicides?
For suicides, there are often specific, consistent clues. Usually it's a single wound, and it's in an easily accessible lethal location, the head, the chest. The presence of a suicide note is obviously a strong indicator. The weapon is often found right there, sometimes even still clutched in the hand or nearby in a way that makes sense for self-infliction. And typically, no signs of a struggle, no forced entry.
Pretty clear indicators, usually.
Usually, but not always. Then you have homicides. These are generally marked by evidence of foul play.
Like what we discussed earlier.
Exactly. Multiple wounds, those defensive wounds we talked about, clear signs of a struggle at the scene. Maybe a lack of any clear suicidal motive or note. The weapon might be missing entirely or found somewhere odd, like hidden or thrown away.
So it's the whole picture.
Absolutely. No single piece tells the whole story. It requires a full, meticulous forensic investigation combining the scene, the autopsy findings, the lab results, everything to definitively classify the manner of death.
This deep dive really underscores how forensic ballistics and injury analysis transform these tiny, almost invisible details into just crucial evidence.
They really do.
It gives invaluable insight into a crime scene, gives a voice to what might otherwise just stay a silent mystery. Understanding these principles, I think, gives you a much deeper appreciation for the work investigators do.
The meticulousness required.
Yeah, and the hidden stories that objects and injuries can actually tell.
Absolutely. So maybe the next time you see a news report about a crime, think about how many silent witnesses that scene itself might be holding.
Just waiting.
Just waiting for a forensic expert to give them a voice.